You just applied to another job that you're perfectly qualified for. You've got the experience, probably twice as much as they're asking for. You've managed teams, handled budgets, solved problems that they haven't even thought of yet. And then nothing, not even a rejection email. What is happening? Here's what nobody's telling you. If you're over 50 and you're job searching, you're probably making one critical mistake that's costing you interviews. And no, it's not your age. It's how you're packaging your age. I'm Mary Southern, founder of Resume Assassin. And over the last decade, I've helped more than 4,000 people land jobs at Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Netflix, and companies you've definitely heard of. And here's what I've noticed. The most qualified candidates, the ones with decades of real experience, are the ones struggling the most right now. Not because they can't do the job, but because they're presenting themselves completely wrong. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things you're doing that are immediately disqualifying you, and more importantly, exactly how to fix them. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to position yourself so that your experience becomes your superpower instead of your liability. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about your resume. And I'm going to be honest with you here. You're probably doing something that feels right, but is actually killing your chances before anyone even reads past the first page. You're listing everything, every job, every responsibility, every accomplishment going back to when you started your career in the 90s or the early 2000s. And I get it. Okay? You worked hard for all of that. You earned every single promotion, every project, every win. Why wouldn't you include it? Well, here's why. Hiring managers are spending an average of 6 seconds on your resume. That's less time than it takes you to microwave a cup of coffee. And in those 6 seconds, if they see a resume that goes back 25 or 30 years, their brain immediately goes to one of 2 places. This person is overqualified and will be bored. Or this person is stuck in the past. Neither of those thoughts get you an interview. Think about it like this. When you're at a party and someone asks you what you do, you don't start with your first job out of college, right? You don't say, well, back in 1998, I was a junior analyst, and then in 2001, I moved into a coordinator role. No, right? You tell them what you do now and what you're known for. Your resume should work the same way. Here's what you need to do. Cut your resume down to the last 10 to 15 years max. I know that feels like you're erasing a huge part of your career, but you're not. You're focusing. You're saying, here's what I'm bringing to the table right now. Let me give you an example. I worked with a client, his name's David. David had a 3-page resume that went back 30 years. He'd worked his way up from customer service rep to operations director. He was so proud of that journey, and he should be. But when we analyzed his applications, he wasn't getting any responses. We condensed his resume to 2 pages. We kept only his last 15 and focused specifically on the digital transformation projects that he'd led in the last 5 years. And guess what? He landed a role in 6 weeks. Same guy, same experience, different packaging. Your entire career still matters. It's shaped who you are. But your resume isn't a memoir, okay? It's a marketing document. And right now, you need to market what's relevant. Here's your action step. Go through your resume tonight. If you have anything listed from before 2010, seriously consider cutting it or condensing it into a single line under early career highlights. Focus on the last decade. That's what employers care about. All right, let's talk about money, because there's this assumption floating around that if you're over 50, you're expensive. And here's the thing. You might be accidentally confirming that assumption without even realizing it. Look at your resume right now. What's your most recent title? Is it something like senior vice president, executive director, chief something officer? If it is, I need you to understand what a recruiter sees when they read that. They see dollar signs, big ones, even if you're willing to take a pay cut, even if you're flexible, even if you'd be thrilled with a role that pays 30% less than what you made before. They don't know that, and they're not going to ask. They're just going to assume that you're out of their budget and they'll move on to the next candidate. This isn't fair. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's reality. And you have to play the game if you want to win. Here's what you do. Reframe your titles to match current market standards. If you were a VP, but the role you're applying to is senior manager, guess what? You can call yourself a senior manager. You're not lying, you're translating. You're taking your level of responsibility and framing it in a way that doesn't trigger the too expensive alarm. I had a client named Susan. She was a vice president of marketing for this mid-sized company. She got laid off and started applying to similar roles. Nothing. She was starting to think that she'd never work again. We repositioned her as a senior marketing manager on her resume and on LinkedIn. Suddenly, she was getting calls. You guys, same skills, same experience, different label. She ended up taking a senior manager role that paid a little bit less than her VP gig, but you know what? She was really happy. She was working. And within 18 months, she was promoted back to the director level. Sometimes you have to take a step sideways to move forward. And here's another thing. Be upfront about salary flexibility. I know that feels really vulnerable, but it works. In your cover letter or during your first conversation with a recruiter, you can say something like, I'm focused on finding the right fit and culture, and I'm flexible on compensation. That one sentence can open doors that would otherwise stay completely shut. Here's your action step. Look at your current title and the titles and the jobs that you're applying for. If there's a mismatch, adjust yours. You're not dumbing yourself down. You're being strategic. Okay, this one is huge, and it's something I see all the time, especially with clients who've been in the same industry or company for a really long time. You're using outdated language on your resume. And I don't mean you're saying things wrong. I mean you're using the terminology from 10 to 15 years ago, and the market has moved on. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's say you managed databases back in the day. You might write on your resume, managed Oracle databases for enterprise clients. That's not wrong, but here's what a job description says now. Experience with data management, cloud-based systems, and analytics. Do you see the difference? Same skill set, it's just a different vocabulary. If your resume says Oracle databases and the job description says data management, the ATS, or the applicant tracking system, the system that screens resumes before a human even sees them, might not make the connection. And even if a human does see it, they might think, oh, this person is stuck in legacy systems. You have to translate your experience into current language. It's like when your parents still call it the Facebook. It's not wrong, but it immediately dates you. Here's how you fix this. Pull up 5 job descriptions for roles you want. Read them really carefully. What words do they use? What skills do they emphasize? Then go back to your resume and update your language to match. I worked with a guy, his name is Tom, and he's an IT professional. His resume said things like Lotus Notes administrator and managed on-premise servers. Those are real skills, but they sound ancient. We updated his resume to say enterprise collaboration systems and infrastructure management with cloud migration experience. Boom! Interviews started rolling in. You don't have to lie. You don't have to pretend you know something that you don't. You're just updating your vocabulary to show that you're current, that you're paying attention, that you're not stuck in 2008. And here's the other piece of this. If there are skills on job descriptions that you don't have, just go learn them, right? I'm completely serious here. You've got YouTube. You've got free courses on LinkedIn Learning. You got all the resources in the world. If every job you want mentions project management tools like Asana or Monday.com, go spend 2 hours learning the basics. Then you can truthfully say, familiar with Asana and Monday.com. It's not a lie. It's you keeping relevant. Here's your action step. Update your resume language this week. Match the vocabulary and current job descriptions. And if you see a skill that keeps coming up that you don't have, spend a weekend learning the basics. This one might sting a little, but I'm saying it because I care about you getting hired. Your resume and cover letter sound tired. I know you're not tired. I know you got a ton of energy. I know you're excited about what's next. But your materials don't show that. They sound dutiful, transactional, like you're checking a box. Employers, especially hiring managers who might be 15 or 20 years younger than you, have this fear. They're afraid you're just coasting to retirement. They're afraid you're not going to bring energy or fresh ideas. They're afraid you're going to say, we've always done it this way. And if your resume says things like, with my extensive background in or throughout my long career, you're absolutely confirming their fear. Those phrases sound like you're looking backwards and not forward. Here's what you need to do. Inject genuine excitement into your application materials. Talk about what you're excited to learn. Talk about what you want to build next. Talk about the future, not the past. Okay, this client comes to mind. She was 54, worked in nonprofit management her entire career. Her original cover letter was all about her decades of leadership and her extensive network. I mean, it was fine, but it was really flat. So we rewrote it. The new version started with, I'm at the most exciting phase of my career. After years of building programs from scratch, I'm energized to bring that same entrepreneurial mindset to a mission-driven organization that's ready to scale. Same person, completely different energy. She got 3 interviews in 2 weeks. You have to show them that you're not looking for a place to coast. You're looking for a place to contribute, to grow, to make an impact. And that starts with the language you use. Think about it like this. When you meet up with friends for dinner, you don't spend the whole time talking about what you did 20 years ago, right? Well, maybe you do. But a lot of the time, you're talking about what's happening right now, what you're into, what you're excited about. Your application materials should have that exact same energy. Here's your action step. Rewrite your cover letter and your resume. Cut any phrase that sounds like you're looking backward and add sentences about what you're excited to do next. Make them feel your energy through the page. Okay, last one. And this might be the biggest mistake of all. You're applying to jobs online like you're 25 years old with no connections. Cold applications, submitting your resume into the void, hoping someone notices you. But here's the truth. You have something that 25-year-olds don't have. You've got 25, 30, maybe 35 years of professional relationships. You've worked with literally hundreds of people. You've built trust. You've made an impact. And those people, they're now senior leaders, hiring managers, decision makers, and you're not using them. I'm not saying you should hit up everyone that you've ever worked with and ask for a job. That's awkward and it probably won't work. But you should be reaching out to people, reconnecting, having conversations, and asking for introductions. Here's a stat that should get your attention. 70% of jobs are filled through connections, not job boards, not LinkedIn Easy Apply, but connections. And you've got more connections than almost anyone applying for the same roles you want. Okay, let me tell you about my client, Mark. He spent 3 months applying online, sent out maybe 80 applications, and he did get a couple of phone screens. But that's it. He was starting to lose hope. I told him to stop applying online and start reaching out to his network. He made a list of 30 people he'd worked with over the years. He sent them personalized messages, not asking for a job, just checking in, basically catching up. Out of those 30 messages, he had coffee or phone calls with about 12 people. One of those people introduced him to a hiring manager at her company. Mark had a conversation, never filled out an application, got an offer 3 weeks later. That's the power of your network. Here's how you do this without being weird about it. Send a message that says something like, "Hey Bob, it's been a while. I've been thinking about you and would love to catch up. I'm exploring some new opportunities in your field and would appreciate any insights that you might have. Would you be open to a quick call?" Notice what the message doesn't say. It doesn't say, "Bob, can you get me a job?" It says, "I'd love to catch up and get your insights." That's not awkward. It's human. And here's the other thing. Your network is more willing to help than you think. People like helping people that they know and respect, but they can't help if they don't know that you're looking. Here's your action step. Make a list of 20 people you've worked with. Reach out to 5 of them this week. Just reconnect. Have real conversations. You're not asking for jobs. You're rebuilding relationships. The opportunities will come from there. All right, let's bring this home. If you're over 50 and struggling to get interviews, I need you to hear this. It's not you. It's not your age. It's not that you're not qualified. You're more qualified than most people applying for these jobs. The problem is how you're presenting yourself. You're putting 25 years of history on your resume when employers want to see 10 years of relevance. You're accidentally signaling that you're expensive when you'd be happy to be flexible. You're using 2010 language in a 2026 job market. Your materials sound tired when you're actually really energized. And you're applying cold online when you have decades of relationships that you could be leveraging. But now you know! And knowing is half the battle. The other half is actually doing something about it. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one thing from this video. Just one. Maybe it's cutting your resume down to 15 years. Maybe it's reaching out to 5 people in your network. Maybe it's rewriting your cover letter with fresh energy. Just pick one thing and do it this week. Because here's what I know. You are hireable. You have skills that companies desperately need. You have wisdom that comes from experience. You just need to package it in a way that makes sense for today's market. And if you want more help with this, I've got some resources for you. Check out resumeassassin.com. I've got templates, guides, and even more strategies to help you land the job that you deserve. Thanks for watching. Now go update that resume. You've got this.